Hey, this is Flask. I know the title of this video is inflammatory, so forgive me. Normally, at the start of a rant like this, I'd want to explain the game's ending so that even those unfamiliar with it could follow along, but in this case, to describe the game's two endings would be to inherently color them, I think, with my own bias. Because the endings here really are supposed to be interpreted by the player, and this video's thesis won't even really mean anything to those who haven't played the game. So I'll just go ahead and say, spoilers for the ending of Clair Obscur. Hope you played it so you can receive my thoughts properly. I did love playing the game, and I highly recommend the experience. It is addictingly good. Okay, if you need a thesis statement right at the start, the characters in this game are either as sapient as humans, or as inert as paint. If they're sapient, then the game's narrative supports their genocide and thinks murder is good, basically. If the characters are just paint, then there is zero reason to be emotionally invested in them, and almost the entire game is meaningless. Let me explain. The very final decision you make in the game for the ending, and how it's framed by the game, is straight up incongruous with the rest of the narrative. It is shockingly bad in context. First of all, turns out none of anything you did was real or mattered to anyone in the world, except like 2 or 3 real people. And any time spent developing the painted characters is the same as if you saw 2 clouds in the sky and you thought they sort of looked like faces speaking to each other. It's only about how all of this was affecting the lives of the real people. That being said, I didn't really take issue with the painting people being a fantasy from a writing standpoint, although my caring for the setting did take a big hit at the time of that reveal. But if you want me to still care about the setting and its people at all, as in like Lumiere, to care about anything I just did for 50 hours, you can't have the ending that's framed as good or better being the one where you accept genocide. Before you get on my case, I recognize that the developers would likely say there's no good ending. But the Verso ending is clearly presented as the more positive narrative resolution to its themes of grief, even if the family isn't, necessarily happy or healed by the end. They frame Alicia continuing the painting as being rotten by showing that it's killing her and, actually, she's like controlling them all or whatever for some reason. It's all an artificial happiness, maybe. Which honestly, that particular angle felt contrived to elicit a certain outcome. And I know that the story views the canvas world as a fiction, a creation that, real or not from its own perspective, is only existent in so much as it reflects the individual types of grief that the Descendre family members are experiencing. I'm contending that viewpoint fails morally. If, tomorrow, I found out God was real and had made me and everything I'd ever known, I would never ever, in eternity, accept that God had the right to unmake me and everything I'd ever known, because God doesn't consider me real. That's the way the expeditioners of Lumiere would feel as well. It is fucking nihilistic to think otherwise, and incomprehensibly insulting to anyone who wants to live. It offends me even more because of how relentlessly life-affirming the culture of Lumiere is. How much time you spend with their determination, which feels cast aside to tell a moral about not getting too into your dreams. I mean, their motto is, for those who come after, not for God's mental health. Essentially, you can't use a story about sentient AI begging to live to deliver a message about moving on from a comfortable fantasy by murdering those AI. It's psychopathic. And people will also say, but poor Verso's soul, piece of soul, just wants to stop painting this world and die. Tough shit. I don't even know how much that soul fragment can be said to be a person, but literally, even if it was a full facsimile of Verso standing there with a brush, he's still responsible for maintaining this world. It's not up to you, man. And don't even get me started on how painted Verso is a one-man death cult, guilty of crimes against humanity. Of course, we come back to, but the painting people are really not real people. They're like if you drew stick figures on paper. You wouldn't think twice about erasing those figures, would you? And again, I say that if that's the case, why the hell did I even play this game? Or more specifically, does the game want me to have the same emotional investment in everything that happens here as I would for a doodle of stick figures? My investment, and the world being meaningful only as a lesson to Alicia, are mutually exclusive. The message itself is not the bad part. That's perfectly fine. It's the context of the message that utterly fails for me. The narrative lost me completely in its final moments. I really liked the writing up to that point, and ironically, the interpersonal relationships and dialogues between these stick figure doodles were some of the most grounded and heartfelt I've seen in an RPG. If only the game allowed it to matter, I would easily take a different, even more tragic ending, but one where it didn't insult my investment and my morals. I don't need the living beings to stay alive at the end. I don't need them to be happy. I need them to be recognized by the narrative as living beings, if I'm to care at all. And again, we circle back to, they were real. It was all real. That's what makes the grief messaging so raw and powerful. To which I again respond, then the message of the game is morally repugnant to me. Psycho thinking. In that case, any human would be beyond wrong to have any sympathy for the genocidal Descendre family. And because they're what the game's really about, it seems the game does. I can't stress enough that I will take any sad, happy, or ambiguous ending as long as it's congruous with its context. As long as it doesn't leave me either morally disgusted or completely checked out. Can you tell I'm really trying to avoid seeing comments about me just wanting a happy ending? I don't think there's any argument in this canvas of ours or out that could make me change my mind on the value of life, but feel free to debate in the comments and give it a shot. I mean, each of you deserves the right to stay painted, and or be mourned after having acetone splashed on you. So thanks for watching. The game is still so much fun, you should play it just to play it.